Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a chilly morning in this part of the world. Let's quickly confirm that we are good to go here. So you can see my screen and you can hear my voice clearly. Kindly type in hi in the comment section so that we can get the session started. So I would love to see some confirmation, please. So I will be loading up my chat right now so that I want some feedback, get things going. All right. So what do we have here? Okay, Zamari, good morning to you. 665, good morning. Okay. Okay, Carrie, good morning. Thank you very much for that confirmation. I can see Sarah Pin in the house. Good morning to you as well. Well, first of all, I want to welcome you to another promising session on the Extra and Speed Life. And my name is Sharif Daramola. And as usual, I will be taking you on a trading journey where we shall be evaluating the financial market using technical parameters to identify trading opportunities lining up for us today. And I would like to apologize for yesterday as we were not able to close at the appropriate time as the session went off abruptly. Some technical issues beyond my control, but I'm glad that we are back and everything and going. So, welcome once again, and let's dive into the chart as we want to be looking at what is happening in the market right now. And before we go into the details here on the chart, let's quickly look at the economic calendar as we have a couple of macroeconomic events coming up today, which is definitely going to be bringing some liquidity to the market. And then this will, um, result of this price move, going to um, observed. And we want to be positioning ourselves in such a way we'll be able to catch them when it finally happens. And here on the economic calendar for Wednesday, January 24, we have events coming up today. So we have the ISM publishing the manufacturing PMI for the month of December here, and that is coming up, I think, hours from now. That's about 4 to 5 hours from now. So we should anticipate in the events as well. Then we also have the FOMC as they will be releasing the minutes for the December policy meeting, and this is going to be coming up about 8 hours from now. And want to be catch that. And the anticipation of this event, obvious on the chart as price actions. Want to be diving right into that right now, where we are going to be taking and what is happening, understand the psychology in the market using our technique, and then with the structures we are able to identify um, uh, guide our next line of action. So in that regard, permit me to dive into the chart right now as we are going to first commodity is the US oil. And during the live session, yes, where were we? And if we had a correct here on the US oil, we are very, very profitable as we saw price action continue to find lower lows and lower highs. During the live session yesterday, we're around the hold on a second, we were around the $80 MAC area. Okay, we were around the $79.40 level, somewhere around here. This is where we were during the live session yesterday. And I told you how I took advantage of those bearish momentum after price broke down that important level at the $80 level. Remember, we identified that on the daily time frame, which we said is going to be our yardstick for trading opportunity for this year. And in fact, price broke down that structure. And one thing I said for those who had missed out on this opportunity right below the $80 level is that we should remain patient and wait out for price action breaking down the $79.40 level, which was the support level at the beginning of the week. We had the support level here. And then I said if price breaks down, retest that structure, we want to be out for another selling opportunity. And this is exactly what happened here. Price broke down that structure and we were able to add more trade. And we also saw another breakdown of the $78.75 level, an level which also confluence with that bullish trend line that we identified on the 4 hours time frame. And we also saw another breakdown retest of the $7 level. So we had a lot of we had multiple entries on the USOil yesterday, and in fact, price action this morning also did breakdown retest of the 7 level to further emphasize the strength of the seller. So on the US oil so far in the last 24 hours, we were able to catch over 1,000 pips approximately, and for everyone who are part of this journey, so congratulations to you guys. And the next thing we want to be doing right now is we are taking advantage of this opportunity around the 77 level. We want to be moving our stop loss accordingly to lock in some profit that we don't cut up in that might likely happen at this point. The most appropriate place I will be suggesting that we move our stop loss to around the $76.30 level, somewhere right above the structure, so that we can for price action to breed. And for those who had missed out on these opportunities that we had here, well, let's look at what the market is going to be presenting to us for today. And let's chance join that decline to the downside. And if bullish momentum will be coming into, I'll be seeing that on the daily time frame. So in this regard, let's quickly run through the time frame and have an overview of what is really going on in this market before we come back down into our 1 hour time frame to make a decision for today. So let's dive into the daily time frame here. Hold on a second. Let's okay, moment. Let's go up into the daily time frame. So we want to have an holistic of what is really going on in this market. So here we are on the daily time frame, and let me zoom this out a little bit so that we can see things clearly. All right. So, like I said yesterday on the daily time frame, we have the fact that price action has been on a bullish momentum since the beginning of 2020 exactly, and we had this bullish trend line to give us that confirmation that we have been witnessing a bullish momentum. And since the beginning of the second half of last year, we were able to identify this bearish trend line, which has been holding selling pressure since the month of June 2022. And then we had another retest of that structure here in the month of November. And what we had here at the beginning of the year was another sharp rejection of the $80 level here. And since yesterday, we have been witnessing selling pressure from that level. Let me zoom in. Let me zoom out so that we can see what I'm talking about here clearly. So that is the bearish trend line we have here. That dotted line on your screen is the bearish trend line that has been holding selling pressure since the month of June last year. And we saw a sharp rejection of that $80 level, which also shares a confluence with that bearish trend line to incite another wave of bearish momentum. And in fact, this engulfing candle broke through that bullish trend line, which we called the temporary trend line yesterday, which also shares a confluence with the $78 area, an area which was known to be a niche for buying power here for about 2 months. Between the month of September and the month of November, we saw how the $78 area has been a strong buying niche for participants in this market before we finally witnessed the breakdown of that structure. And it appears that since the breakdown of the structure, price did a retracement back into the $80 level here. And since then, we have been witnessing selling pressure from this area. So the way with the look of things right now, we are of the opinion that the selling pressure might continue to the downside. But one thing that we should also take into consideration is the fact that price has broken down the $78 level. And obviously, whenever we have something like this, we should be expecting at one point in time, price might likely come back to do a retest of that structure to incite another wave of bearish momentum. At this point in time, like I told you on the 1 hour time frame, we move our stop loss, lock in some profit, and let's see how far this bearish move is going to go before um, the appearance of a retracement that will be doing a possible retest of structure to incite another wave of bearish momentum. Now, in that regard, we want to be scaling down to the 4 hours time frame right now. Based on this current knowledge we have here, let's see what we can depict from the 4 hours time frame before we run through the 1 hour time frame, where we are going to be making a decision for today. So right now we are on the 4 hours time frame, and remember how we identified a channel here after connecting the series of lower highs. We had the lower highs here, then we also had the lower lows here, and after connecting the series of lower lows and lower highs, we had a descending channel figured out. And one interesting thing happened here in the month of December, that is on the 20th, 21st of December, we witnessed a breakout of the resistant level of that descending channel to incite a bullish momentum. And coupled with this bullish trend line we have here, we saw how that bullish trend line guided that bullish momentum, which led to the final breakout of the resistant level of that descending channel here. And since then, price has continued to find higher highs and higher lows. But in the last 24 hours, we finally witnessed the breakdown of that bullish trend line, which confirms that that bullish trend line is no longer strong enough to hold buy pressure. And one thing we are going to be looking forward to here is to see how far with this retracement phase going to go. Now, remember we had a breakout of the resistant level of that descending channel here. And from a technical standpoint, whenever we have a breakout of a structure like this, we expect that price might likely come back to do a retest of that resistant level, where a possible buy pressure around this area could probably incite another wave of bullish momentum. So in this regard, I will be extending the resistant level of this descending channel further into the future here, and let's see how far this is going to go. Is it going to break down the $74 level? And if it does, we want to be adding more position to our existing trade here. So if price continues to the downside, breaks down the $74 level. Remember how important that key level has been since the month of November. We saw how the level at one point in time was holding by pressure here. We saw it hold selling pressure at this point before it came back to us hold another buy pressure around this area. So we are going to be looking forward to see how price action is going to be reacting to the $74 level side, if we are going to be adding more position to our sell position, or we are going to be thinking of buying the US oil at this point. So we are going to be looking forward to see how price is going to react to this level. Are we going to be having a breakdown of the $74 level with a retest of structure in our lower time frame to give us an opportunity to add more position to our existing trade, with a tick profit target sitting somewhere around the $70 area, which shares a confluence with that resistant level of that descending channel that we have here, probably after which we might be seeing a buy pressure that will incite another wave of bullish momentum. So that is one scenario we shall be looking forward to today. And then the other possible scenario that could happen here is price gets into the $74 level here, and we start noticing buy pressure right above the structure on our lower time frame. It could be a double bottom structure, a head and shoulder pattern, whatever it is. We cite a buy pressure right there on our lower time frame. Breakout retest could incite another wave of bullish momentum, and if that happens, that is, if we start seeing buy pressure around this area and we take advantage of that opportunity, I will be looking forward to TP target sitting somewhere around the $80 level here, where price started this year. And if you look at how important the $80 level is in the past, you can see how it has been a major determinant of price action. And look at what happened here. It also shares a confluence with that trend line. Remember, we had this bullish trend line here, and we saw how the trend line was broken during the New York session yesterday. And from a technical standpoint, there is a likelihood that price might come back of that structure in anticipation of another wave of bearish momentum. So these are the scenarios we shall be looking forward to. So at this point in time, I will be advising us to remain patient. That is, for those who had missed out on these opportunities that we had since yesterday, to remain patient here and let's wait out for price action to see how price action will react to the $74 level. And for those who are already in this trade, move your stop loss accordingly and let's wait out to see what happens around the $74 level. And if a breakdown happens, we get ready to add more position to our existing trade. And if buy opportunity comes in here on our lower time frame, then we get ready to buy the US oil with the TP target sitting somewhere around the $20.79.50 30-cent level and the $81 area, at least the meantime. So these are my views here on the US oil for today. And if you have any questions regarding what I've just explained so far, feel free to drop your inquiries in the comment section as usual. So I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to read through the chat and see if there are any questions whatsoever before I move on to the next option. So let's see what we have here in the comment section. And all right, so I can see to CMB. Hi, thank you very much. All right. Okay, 471 needs some help. All right, I would advise you to continue to be part of this family. And if you are with us on a daily basis, you'll get accustomed to what we do here and you will be able to become an independent trader as you follow us through the process that we are adopting here. Okay, all right. So Happy New Year, Fight Python 22. Da Coast, hello, good morning to you. Samuel 1997. All right. Okay. So, in the absence of no questions, I guess we are all on the same page here. So, I will be moving on to the next option. So, the next option we are going to be looking at this morning is the US tech. And let's quickly do a replay of what our expectation was during the live session yesterday. So during the live session yesterday here on the 1 hour time frame, we noticed how price action was initially caught within a channel at the beginning of the trading session this week. We had a resistant level at the $11,060 area, and then we had a support level at the $10,870 level here. Let me extend this out a little bit so that we can see things more clearly here. Okay, so we had a support level here at the beginning of the week. We had the resistant level at the 11,060, where price was caught within that channel. And in addition to that channel, there was this bullish trend line that I was able to identify during the live session yesterday. And we said that the bullish trend line here will be guiding our trading activities for the week. So we had the bullish trend line figured out here. I said it's going to be guiding our trading activity for this week. And in addition to that is the $11,000 area here, which is the very important key level we identified on the daily time frame. For those who are not part of the live session yesterday, don't worry. I will still run through the daily time frame where we'll have a better picture of how important the $11,000 level is. Now, one thing I stated here yesterday was the fact that both the $11,000 area and the bullish trend line shall continue to guide our trading activities for this week and for the new year. And remember, we took advantage of a buy opportunity here yesterday, and I told you to move your stop loss accordingly to protect our position. But unfortunately for the buyers here yesterday, we saw price break down the $11,000 level. And remember what I said yesterday, that if price breaks down the $11,000 level, we're selling pressure below that structure in our lower time frame. We want to be joining that decline to the downside. And this is exactly what happened here yesterday. We saw the breakdown of both the 11,000 and the bullish trend line. And in fact, within 3 hours, price action moved over, let's see how many pips, over 250 pips in that direction before we started witnessing this bullish momentum that started again right around that demand zone. Remember, we had this demand zone figured out at the beginning of the week. So price action respected that demand zone one more time. here. So we can see that level has been holding by pressure for quite a while now. So we had another respect of that and zone to emphasize the strength of the buyers at those points. So price action moved over 250 pips before we saw that bullish momentum coming at this point. And for those who are taking advantage of this opportunity yesterday, kudos to you for being on standby to catch that move as it happened. So now that we are going into the New York session today, what is really going to be our plans? Are we still going to continue to buy the sell the US tech, or we should be getting ready to buy the US tech? Well, if we look at the structure here on the 1 hour time frame following the breakdown of that bullish trend line here, we might likely see this bullish move, as a possible retracement of that previous impulse leg, where I will be thinking that a culmination will be identified at around our golden zone area, which might likely incite another wave of bearish momentum. So what we are going to be doing here on the 1 hour time frame to take into consideration this impulsive move using our Fibonacci retracement tool. We run it through the impulse leg here, and then what we want to be doing is to aim at the area between 50 and the 78.6% level as our sell zone for today. So we should be having somewhere between here, and for the sake of clarity, I would like to label this point. We label it sell window, and we give it a green color. So I give this a yellow color here. Then with the Fibonacci retracement tool, as it's no longer needed. So we have the sell window sitting around the $10,900 level and the $11,030 area. So we are going to be looking out for selling opportunities within this area. And if you look at this zone here, it also shares a confluence with that important key level at the $11,000 area. So what we are going to be looking forward to today during the new session is to see price action evolve into a reversal pattern. It's double top structure, a head and shoulder pattern, a rising wedge, whatever it is. We want to see a reversal pattern with selling pressure around this area. And if a breakdown retest on our lower time frame happens, then we want to be taking advantage of that trend continuation to the downside. So as long as price remains below the $11,000 level here, we want to be looking out for selling opportunity on the US tech. And where will our take profit target be if we are going to be selling right below that structure? Well, if we look at the previous impulse leg here and we extend that impulse leg into the future using our Fibonacci extension tool, we should aim in at somewhere between the 127.2 and the 1414 area, where I will be aiming for the TP target. So somewhere between the 127.2 and the 1414 area. So let's label this for the sake of clarity. So we should be having our TP target sitting somewhere between the 10,680 and the $10,620 area for our TP target, which will be dovetailing to about how many pips is that? Approximately minimum of 290 to a maximum of about 340 pips. Price action moves in that direction. So this is what we are going to be looking on the US tech. Now, to make things a little bit easy for us to join that bearish move when it finally happens, is that we want to be connecting the series of higher lows here to identify that temporary bullish trend line, which has been respected since yesterday, and then a breakdown of that trend line should be giving us a better perspective, taking advantage of that move. So this is what we have here. So we have the trend line. This is thick. Okay, so we have the trend line here, and bring back our candle charts, some readjustment. We have the trend line here. So this is just to make things easy for the eyes to capture the right moments to join this bearish move when it happens. So if at any point in time we see a breakdown of that trend line, retest of structure in our lower time frame, then it's a very good time to join that decline to the downside. And if price continues to the downside in such a way that it breaks down the $10,800 level with selling pressure below the structure in our lower time frame, we want to be adding opposition to our existing trade. So this is the views we have here on the US Tech. But before I close on the US Tech, I promised earlier that I want to show you how important the $11,000 level is on the daily time frame, especially for those who had missed out on the live session yesterday. So this is the daily time frame here. And remember, at the beginning of the week, we were able to identify the bearish trend line after connecting the series of lower highs. So in fact, throughout last year, price action has continued to go bearish, and it has uniformly respected the bearish trend line that you can screen to further emphasize the strength of the sellers throughout last year. Now, things got a little bit interesting during the month of June as we saw a new demand zone around the 11,000 area where buyers tried as much as possible to negate all selling pressure. We saw the first touch here and we saw the second touch here in the month of October wasn't strong as that level, as buying pressure was negative at the 8,100 level. Now, the buy zone, the demand zone we identified here lines up exactly with $1,000 price, and that is the $11,000. That's the level I told you on the 1 hour time frame that is very important for us to take note of. So we have you can see how the $11,000 level has been a major determinant of price action. And in fact, if you zoom into the current structure here that is in the last 2 weeks, we can see how the $11,000 level had continued to hold selling pressure. So at this point in time, if sellers continue to reject the $11,000 level, remember we took advantage of this bearish momentum yesterday, and we are open to add more position if price continues to downside from this. So as long as price remain below the $11,000 level, we continue to sell, and with the hopes that price might likely break down that demand zone to incite another wave of bearish momentum. And another thing we also want to take notes the fact that the $11,000 area also would also guide bullish momentum at this point. And the only way we will be buying US tech from this juncture is to see a breakout of the $11,000 area with buy pressure right around or above the structure to incite another wave of bullish momentum where our TP target will be sitting somewhere between the 11,500 and the $11,700 area, which shares a confluence that bearish trend line. So these are the things we are going to go to here. So you agree with me that the 11,000 area has been a major factor in guiding price move. So if price continues to trade below, we continue to hold on to our sell position and then think of looking out for another selling opportunity as structures evolved into tradable um, patterns. Now, that is what we are looking forward to here on the US Tech. Let's see if we have any questions regarding what I just explained on the US Tech. If you still need further clarification or you need me to shed more light on what I've explained so far, feel free to drop your inquiries in the comment section, and I will be taking my time to shed more light on whatever don't understand at this point. So let me quickly run through the charts and see if there are any questions before we move on to the next option. Okay, I can see Gil 4. Happy New Year to you too as well. Tabunak, okay. Thank you. Fabrice Kotan, Sergio Ubwalid 1521. My damn, all right. Good morning to all of you. Happy New Year to every single one of you. Oh, Steamroller, good morning to you. How are you doing today? I missed you yesterday. Hope you are doing well. And Happy New Year. I'm talking. Yes. 7485411. All right. So, in the absence of no questions, I want to assume that we are good to go at this point. So, let's run through the next instrument, and that is the GBP USD. So, I think at this point, yesterday was when we had this scenario of interruption in the server, and I was not able to continue the live session yet. So let's quickly run through what we were talking about on the GBP USD. So as at yesterday, we were able to identify a structure between the 1.2100 level, which is the level where selling pressure began here. So this is where price action started this year. That is 1.210 level, wrong psychological point. And then we have the support level for this year, sitting right around the 1.20450 level. As you can see, buy pressure came in around this point. And in fact, during the live session yesterday, we said, okay, sorry, I told you how the continued buy pressure around the 1.20450 could incite a possible bullish momentum, and this is exactly what happened as the buy pressure here sparked out of the structure during the New York session yesterday, and we saw price move. Let's see how many pips that was, over 30 pips before we started seeing another wave of selling momentum right below the 1.208 level. Remember, I told you yesterday that since we already have a resistant level at the 1.2100 level, and then the support level at the 1.20450, those structures will be guiding our trading activities. So what this simply means is that if price breaks out the 1.200 level, we want to continue to buy, and if price breaks down the support level at the 1.20450, we want to be selling the GBPU. And this is exactly what happened during the early hours of yesterday. For the breakdown of the structure, price broke down the 1.20450, and in fact, it moved over how many pips was that? Over 140 pips move before we started witnessing this bullish momentum here. And as a result of this, I was able to connect the series of higher lows, all these pivot lows here, give us that resultant bullish trend line. So what this simply tells us that is that as the higher low continue here, it gives us a sign that buy pressure is gradually coming into this market at this point. And I shared this on my public platform. We were going to be using the 1.20450 as a neckline of that reversal move. So we were looking out for a breakout retest of the 1.20450 to give us an opportunity to buy the GBP USD this morning, and this is exactly what happened. I got my position triggered right around the 1.20450, and for if you are taking advantage of that move, could for being on standby to catch that move, as you will currently be running with about 35 pips profit at this point. So my advice for those who are taking advantage of this move right now is to move your stop loss to break even, so that price drops back against us, not be caught up in any loss position at this point. And one thing about this structure is that we want to be taking into consideration 1.20800 level, and this is one of the reasons I said be moving our stop loss accordingly to lock in some profit here. As you can see, how the 1.20800 level has been holding selling pressure since the beginning of the year. So we saw this happen on Monday. We saw selling pressure right below that structure, and we saw again yesterday we saw selling pressure right below that level. And right now, the buy momentum that started here appears to be edging closer to the 80. And look at what happened here a couple of hours ago. We saw a sharp rejection that there are reasons coming in to take price out of the structure. So that is why I have advised us to move stop loss right around 1.20. Let's lock in from profit, and let's wait out and see how price action is going to be reacting to the 1.20800. So now this is how we are going to be for today. If a breakout That is for those who had missed out on the buy position that we took advantage of earlier. So if a breakout of the 1.208 level happens, and very good sign for us to be buying. And if we go down to our lower time frame and we begin to sight buying pressure right around or above the 1.20800, this would be a good opportunity for us to add more position our exit trade. And if price continues further up in such a way that it breaks out of the 1.2100 level, remember how strong that level has been for sellers since the beginning of this year. In fact, throughout the course of last year, I think the later part of last month, we have been witnessing selling pressure right around the 1.2 level. And now, so if the buy pressure here continues in such a way that it breaks out of the 1.210 level, taking out all the sell position around this area to gain some liquidity for buying momentum, then we want to be thinking of adding more position at the breakout of the structure to add one more position to here. So these are the views we are going to be having for buying opportunity on the GBPUSD. However, if selling pressure resumes right below 1.2 has been doing since the year, it's anticipating the selling opportunity. But at this point in time, I will be suggesting that this trend line here should be guiding our trading activity for today. So if price continue to trade above the bullish trend line and right above the 1.20450, we continue to feel comfortable in our buy position. But if a breakdown of both of the structure, that is the 1.20450 and the bullish trend line happens, then at this point we as a bearish signal. And if we scale down to our lower time frame, that's seeing structure right below the 1.20450 to join that decline downside. So it's a very simple setup we have here. Continue to hold our buy position as long as price remain above the trend line and above the 450. And if at any point in time price breaks down that structure, get ready, join the decline to the downside. So Aline NBN is asking if it's a long or a short. Well, I just explained the possibilities that we have here on the J. So the market does not work that way. We have parameters, we have structures we look out for to guide our trading activity. So as at this point, we're already in the buy position. And if you are not yet in the buy position point, I have advised you that we should be looking out for buying opportunity right above the 0 level. What this simply means is that if a breakout of the structure happens, followed by buying pressure right around the structure time frame, we want to be joining that rally to the upside. And if it happens such a way that price continues to the upside, breaking out of the 1.210 with buy pressure right above the structure, we want to be adding more position. So that's the only way we are going to be going long on the GBP. However, if price breaks down the 1.2450 level here, followed by selling pressure below the structure on our lower time frame, then we want to be selling the GBPUSD. So it's a very simple structure we have here. So I would advise us to stand by that we can catch that move when they finally happen. So that is my view here on the GBPUSD. If you have any questions, feel free to drop your inquiries in the comment section and let's see how I can be of help in that regard. I will be moving on to the next instrument, and the next pair we are going to be looking at this morning is the USDJPY. We were not able to trade the USDJPY yesterday, some technical issues on my control, but let's quickly run through what our expectations my expectation was and how I have trading the Y. Now, the first thing we are going to be doing here is go up into the daily time frame and let's have an holistic view of what has really been happening throughout the course of last year's trading. Now, right on the daily time frame here, it is obvious that price action has been on a long-term bullish momentum, at least since the beginning of one. We have been with pressure. We have been finding higher lows here, and we were able to connect the series of higher lows here to give us that bullish trend line you can on your screen right here. So in fact, we have a couple of trend line here. So the major one is on here. The dashed line on your screen right now is the major line. Then we also have this other trend line here, which has also been a major determinant of price action. And since the breakout retest of the structure here in the month of March last year, price action trade above that structure emphasize the strength of the buyers at the point. Now, in addition to line is very important history level at the 131.00 level. And why is the level so important? Well, if you look into the past year and see how price action acting around the structure, you will see that it really has been a determinant of price action. Look at what happened here in the month of May last year. Level was holding selling pressure at that particular point in time before we witnessed a breakout of that structure in the month of June. And since the breakout happened in the month of June, price has continued to find buy pressure right above that structure to emphasize the strength of the buyers point. As you can see, happen here in August 8th. Then we saw the same thing happen here third week of the month of December, that was last month, and price towards the end of last year, so price right above the 131, the 131.0 level for the structure. And one thing I stated, 131 level, that'll be our guide for activity week and at the same year. And how do we want to be trading this? If you look at the structure here, you will notice that this level has been strong buying niche for participants in the, and as a result of that, I was able to identify that area as a demand zone. As every time, anytime price comes within, I've been witnessing high pressure come in area. So what we are going to be looking out for this week is if we start seeing buy pressure right above the 131.0, might want to be joining a bullish momentum to the upside. And if price breaks down the 131.00 level, selling pressure below the structure should cite another bearish momentum, probably to that major bullish trend line we identified earlier. So in order to have a better perspective into what is really going on in the market, it's important that we scale down to a much lower time frame so that we can see what price action is transitioning into here. I mean, what our next line of action will be. So like I said, if price action forms a reversal pattern around this area, like a double bottom structure, we want to be buying. And if this turns out to be a trend continuation pattern, then we want to be looking at opportunities below the one. So in order to have a better perspective to this, we want to be down to the time frame. And right here on the 1 hour time frame, I was able to identify time frame. Look at what we have here. Structure. Before I go into, let me what's happened on our time. I want us to have an that week. So now on the first time frame, I was able to buy a bear line since of October last year, as you can see how price action has come and uniformly so we all agree with the USDJ US dollar has been dropping again. So Japanese yen pair since in the last 2 months. So that was the structure I was able to identify there. And in addition to the bearish trend, is the wanted, which has also been a price action. Then we have the 134.500, which demands on at one point in time for the break. A structure happened, and then we saw a rate emphasize the point. Now, if we zoom in current structure here, the 131 level identified on the time frame has been pressure for some time, and at the beginning of this, saw a little breakdown of the sellers who want to hijack trading activity from the buyers. Now, when we scale down to the 1 hour time frame, what I was able to identify of the year. So since the beginning of the year, I was able to identify a flat well, 131.0 level here. As you can, we saw that is the resistance channel. Anytime price comes into the resistance, have been with pressure from that level. And we also have the support level of the channel here around this level. And what happened early hours of it was a breakdown of that structure, emphasize the strength of the sell point. So we saw the breakdown of the yeah, and I was able to take advantage of bearish move. Fetched me about how many pips? About 100 pips out before it started. And with the new pivot lows here, find higher low, I connected trend line. I will be calling a temporary bullish trend line time. And one thing around this level is that when I started seeing this higher loads, it feel that buyers are likely coming in point, and probably this how to be no yet. But one thing for sure that we will be doing is pity. And during the New York session here, or during the early hours of today, we saw the break line, retest of the line to an opportunity was the JPY. And in fact, we joined right below the 130 points. And currently, it's not that much anyway. Currently, price is running with up. So for those who are taking advantage of this move right here, thank you for being on standby to move. So let's continue to our price action act to the structure at this point. And remember, we have a macroeconomic event coming up today, and this evidence, as you can see here, we have been with consolidation on here. So it emphasizes the fact that funds in this market are still, as we don't know, a price will go in from this point. And for those who had missed out on the opportunity, yeah, I will be in unless we out for another structure to involve in add more trade. And so I will be looking at some 130 here where it will be most appropriate to add more position price break structures. For the sake of clarity, I would like to sorry, I would like to label this point so that we can see things more clearly and use it as a reference point whenever we are about to take a decision on the buy. So have right, okay, right, okay. So you can see here we had a new pivot low here, and price is yet to break below the structure. So I will be advised wait out for a breakdown rate 30.200. So if you had missed out on the sell opportunity here, let's wait out for a breakdown retest of the 130.200 order to join this decline to the downside. So we are looking forward to something like this, join that bearish moment to the downside. So on the USDJPY, we continue to wait out for selling opportunity. Yeah, so below the 130.200 seems most appropriate to take advantage of a sell position on the USDJPY. Now, in as much as we are looking forward to sell opportunities on the USDJPY, and we need to take it and leave the option high up open as well as a price continues upside. How do we want to be taking advantage of that buy opportunity? And we should also not ignore these pivot lows here. This bullish pressure here in the last 24 hours. We also saw another one here that was of today. So this might likely incite a bullish. So what I will be looking for an outright breakout of the 131 Japanese, but how that level and zone which we identified on the higher time frame. That level has been holding by pressure for time before it was here. And if breakout of that structure happen, I want to that as a time for join a upside. So as long as price um out for selling. Price breaks out of the wanted 00 level, we look out for buy opportunity. Now, if you look closely at following this impulsive move downside, we have something that looks like a reversal pattern. It looks like a and that happened. So, like I said, we wait out for breakout of the one was a confirmation that buyers have come to stay in this market. But as long as price remains 0.6 out for selling opportunity. Yeah. And like I said, for those who had missed out on this opportunity, let's remain and wait out for a breakdown retest of the 130.200 during that decline to the downside. All right. Thank you, Steamroller, for that. I'll move closer to my mic. Thank you. All right, so that is the view we have here on the USDJPY. If you have any questions, feel free to drop your inquiries in the comment section as usual. So let's run through the last pair we are going to be talking for today, and that is the XAUUSD. We were not able to trade this yesterday, but I will try to incorporate this into my plans for today. I actually shared this on my public platform where we actually had a buy opportunity this morning, and we are currently in profit on the XAUUSD. But I still think that we still have more opportunity to take advantage of on this pair. Now, the first thing we did here was to look at the daily time frame, where we saw that throughout last year, sellers were I think the first half of last year we saw that buyers were in charge of this as we saw buy pressure sitting right above the $1,800 level, and the second half of last year we saw that sellers took over this market as we saw selling pressure right below the $1,800 area. And you will agree with me that the 1,800 level shall be our yardstick for trading activities for this year, as every time price comes within that area, if we cite a breakout by pressure around that area, it normally incites bullish momentum. And if we see selling pressure around that area, it normally incites bearish momentum. Now, if we look at what happened here in the last month, we saw that as soon as price got into the 1,800, there was a huge consolidation phase around here, which lasted a month before we now finally saw the breakout of the 1,800 during the early days of this year, giving us an opportunity to join the rally to the upside. So at this point in time, with a breakout of the supply zone here, I am of the opinion that buyers have come into this market at this point. So as long as price remains above the 1,800, we want to be looking out for buying opportunity. So we shall be scaling down to the lower time, especially for those who had missed out on this opportunity here. Let's look out for structures that will be guiding a new opportunity on the X. So in that regard, we shall be scaling down to the 1 hour time frame, where we will be seeing clearly at this point. So this is the $1,800 level here, which I identified on the time frame. So this is here the 1,800. So this is the key level that we will guide trading active for this year rather. Hold on a second. I would want us to see something on the 4 hours time. Better perspective is what is really happening around here. So this is it on the daily time. This is the 4 hours time frame here. How we saw accumulation of buying pressure late in September before price broke out of that structure on the first day of the month of November, and price continued the upside. We saw the breakout of this trend line retest of structure in the first week of the month of November, and since the breakout of that structure, price action has continued to remain above this level to emphasize the strength of the set of the buyers at this point. Now, at the beginning of the week, of this week rather, I was able to identify a channel between the 1,832.50 level, this level here, and the support level at the 1,824 area. So we had a channel at the beginning of the week, and immediately I cited the breakout of the 1,832.50 level, the resistant level of that channel. I was of the opinion that buyers have come to stay in this market, and in fact, we had a buy zone identified here, respecting this bullish trend line. and then we were good to go by XAU, and we actually bought, and currently we are running with about 2,500 pips in profit. And one thing I did here was to look out for another opportunity. Price breaks out of that structure at the 1,008, was holding selling pressure at one point during the early days of this week. Then we saw the breakout of the structure here during the another position running. So the second position here is running with about 800 pips in profit. So for those who had missed out on this opportunity here, let's look out for trading opportunity. Let's look out for another chance if the chance here XAU. What I'm going to be looking forward to at this point, and for those who have been part of this journey, well, I would advise you to stop loss accordingly. And I think somewhere below the 1,800 appropriate at talking some profit. Let's give room for price action to read before probably another wave of bullish momentum might happen at this point. So at this point in time, for those who had missed out on this opportunity, I will suggest that we wait out for a retracement probably to the structure where we'll be looking out for buying opportunity here to join a trend continuation to the upside. So that is one scenario we shall be looking forward to here. If price comes back, does a retest of this area, then we look out for buy opportunity for lower time frame to join that rally to the upside. Then the other possible scenario that could happen here is that this structure here, this consolidation phase, would evolve into probably a flag pattern, falling wedge, or a bullish rectangular pattern. That is any trend continuation pattern. Breakout retest on our lower time frame, then we could join the rally to the upside. So for the sake of clarity here, I want us to look at what is really happening here. Do we have any structure we can guide our trading activity for today? So I will be scaling down to the time frame. Hold. So this on the 15 minutes time frame here. And on the 15 minutes time frame, we have a structure sitting right around the $1,858 level. For the sake of clarity, I would want to label it so that we can use it as a reference point. So we have the 1,858 level here. And as you can see, we have been witnessing buy pressure from that level since the early hours of today. We saw that every time price comes within the structure, we have been witnessing buy pressure come in from that level. And in addition to the 1,858, it is lower highs here. So I would like to connect the lower highs here. So you can see how price action is transitioning into a simple structure which we could take advantage of for today. Let me do some readjustment. Hold on a second, please. Trying to. So I want to. Okay. So that here we go. So we have the structure now. So now what happens here is this. If price breaks down this 1,858, then we might be seeing a situation where this might incite the retracement of that impulsive move that started a couple of days ago. Then we might be seeing a situation where price will come back into the 1,850, like I said, on the 1 hour time frame, where we shall be looking out for buy opportunity right above the structure to join the rally to the upside. So for those who had missed out on that buy position, let's look out for this. And if you are a counter trend trader, you might want to take advantage of the breakdown retest of the 1,858 into the structure, which has a tendency of giving you about 850 pips in profit if price moves that direction. But if you are not a counter trend trader, you are not a scalper, I will suggest you remain patient for price action, this retracement phase to culminate for joining that trend continuation to the upside. And the other possible option here is a breakout of this trend line here. If a breakout of this trend line happens, then we want to be seen as a bearish, as a bullish signal. And if we are lucky enough, we are around when buy pressure happens at the retest of the structure, then we want to be adding more position to our existing trade here. So this is what we are going to be looking forward to on the XAUUSD for today. So we continue to look out for buy opportunity here. Then in addition to these structures, I was able to identify here, I've just seen something. I have a trend line which we can also use. I also use for us A. So I have this trend line. Okay. We have this trend line here. So something like this. Allow this trend line to continue to guide our bullish momentum on the XAU. This is what we are going to be looking forward to today. If you have any question regarding all I've just explained so far, feel free to drop your inquiries in the comment section and let's see how I can be of help in that regard. While I continue to look into the comments, let's quickly run through and do a recap of what we talked about today before we call it a day. And for those who had missed out, this is your time to be part of what we talked about so far. So the first commodity we talked about today is the US oil, and on the US oil, we are very profitable this week so far. As you can see, we rode the we rode price movement from below the $80.40, and we had over 1,000 pips running in profit at this point. We had another entry here. We had another entry at the $78.75. We also had another position around the $78 area. And then we added another one during the morning at around the $76 level. So we have over 1,000 people profit. And congratulations to every single one of you who has been part of this journey. Now, for those who had missed out on these opportunities, I have told you that we want to be patient at this point as we want to wait out and see how price action is going to be reacting to the $74 level in order to make a decision for today. And I was able to buttress this on the 4 hours time frame. Let's go to the 4 hours time frame here. The 4 hours time frame. And what I said here is that remember we have this descending channel out here, and we saw the breakout of the channel here last month on some bullish momentum, and we had the bullish trend line that broke out of that trend line here. Had it. So yesterday we saw the breakdown of this bullish trend line for the emphasize those sellers. And one thing I laid emphasis on the fact that breakout of structure would incite a case back into that structure. Our price might likely come back to do channel cite another wave of bullish momentum. But at this point in time, we don't know how far this retracement phase is going to go. So one thing I stated here was that wait out and see how price action will react to the $4 level. We have a breakdown of the structure followed by selling pressure below this level. We want to be adding more our sell trade, buying pop join another wave. And if that does not happen, and instead we have buy pressure coming in right up $74 area here, want to be join the rally to the upside with a TP target sitting around the 8 level, which also shares a confluence with that bullish identified earlier. But the bullish line was broken here. Price do structure to incite another wave of bearish momentum, or probably break out of that level to um price to the upside. So this is what we are looking forward to. So for those who had missed out on all the sell position, we took advantage of. I said we should our price will react to the $74 area in order to make a decision for today. So be patient here. Very, very important. So that is that on the US oil. Then we went on to talk about the on the US tech, which is also a profitable trade for us so far. We were able to join a sell position here yesterday after being taken out of the buy position at break even. So we had the sell position triggered at below the $11,000 level, which I told you is a very important structure for the year, and price action took us to give us about over 200 pips before we started seeing the buy pressure coming in around this point. And the buy pressure here, I said, is likely going to be a retracement of this impulsive move to the downside. So we might likely see a retracement phase. And as a result of this, we were able to identify a sell window sitting right between the 50 and 78.6% of that previous impulse leg, where I said we shall be looking out for selling opportunity here, join that decline to the downside. And when I say opportunity, I want to be looking for reversal patterns right below that $1,000 level to push price into downside. And in that regard, if sell position come in, our TP targets remain 10,670 and the $10,610 level at this point in time. So we are going to be looking out for reversal patterns around this area. And to make things a little bit for us for the high to identify trading opportunities, I was able to connect the series of higher lows here to give us that temporary bullish trend line, which you can see on your screen right now. So this is the temporary bullish trend line. And what I said to help us identify reversal pattern around the sell window here is to look out for a breakdown retest of this trend line to incite that bearish move downside. So that is what we are looking forward to sell the US tech for today. And remember how important the $11,000 level is. I said above the $11,000 level is an opportunity to buy, and if price remains below the 11,000, we'll continue to remain comfortable in our sell position. Then we went on to talk about the GBPUSD, where I told you we profit at this point, and I said that we took advantage of a buy position right here at the 1.20450, and we are currently running with about 30 pips in profit. And for those who had missed out on this opportunity, I have told you that to remain patient here and let's wait out and see how price action will react to the 1.20800 level, a level which has been holding selling pressure since the beginning of this year. So let's wait out and see how price will react to the structure. So what we are going to be looking forward to at this point is if price breaks out of the 1.2080 level, we want to be seeing this as a bullish signal, and the appearance of buy pressure on our lower time frame should give us further confirmation, add more position to our exit trade. And if price breaks out of the 1.21 level, we want to be adding more position to our exit trade here. And to make things easy for us, I have identified this bullish trend line, and I told you that if price continue to remain above this, we will remain comfortable in our buy position. Now, what are we going to be looking out for on the GPUSD to sell the GPUSD? Now we have the 1.20450 level, a level which also shares a confluence with our bullish trend line. So if at any point in time during the New York session today, price breaks down the 1.20450 level, which also shares a confluence with the bullish trend line, that will be a signal that this bullish trend line is no longer strong enough to hold buy pressure, and that will dovetail to selling opportunities. And if we scale down to a lower time frame and we start seeing selling pressure below the structures, we want to be joining that decline to the downside. So I advise you to not miss out on this opportunity when it finally happens. Then we went on to talk about the USDJPY for today. And on the USDJPY, we already have a sell position running at the point. And the first thing I told you, for those who are taking advantage of the breakdown of the support level, that we should be moving our stop loss to break even at this point, as we never can tell buyers could likely come in at this point. And the reason why I've told us to move our stop loss is simply because of how the 130.200 level has been holding by pressure in the last 24 hours. So because of this, let's move our stop loss to break even here, and let's wait out and see if we are going to be having a further breakdown of the 130.200 level. And one thing I said for those who had missed out on the sell position, for you to hold on a little bit, wait out, and let's see if price will break down to 130.200, where we shall be looking at an opportunity structure join another of bearish momentum to the downside. Now, for those who are thinking buying the buy, my advice at this point, but we had a channel at the beginning of the week right between 131 Japanese level and the 130 point. Yeah, what we are going to, and remember also that there is a identify the structure on frame where the 131 level has been a strong buying edge for participants during the month of December. And in fact, hold on a second, let me show you how important the 131 level is on the daily time frame. So we had this structure figured out on the daily time frame where we identify the 131 level and look at how that level has been a major determinant of price action. We saw selling pressure here in the month of May last year. We had a breakout of the structure here in the month of June last year. And since the breakout happened, we have been by pressure right above the one level. So going back to the 1 hour time frame, now I said for us to be buying the USDJPY, we want to see price action break out of the 131.0 that is taking out all the sell position have here to give us a signal that buyers have come to stay. And if we are lucky enough by pressure right above the structure now for time, an opportunity to buy the USD JPY. So this is what we are going to be looking forward to on the USD JPY. Now, the next option we talked about, the next commodity we talked about today is the XAUUSD. And on the XAUUSD, I told you how profitable I've been on this one after taking advantage of a buy position right above the 1,832.50. Then we had another position at the breakout of the 1,050. And for those who had missed out on this opportunity, I have told you that um, let's wait out and see how price will play out going forward. We already have a bullish trend line figured out here. And bullish trend line will continue to hold buy opportunity for us. As long as price remains above that structure, we want to be comfortable in our buy position. And for those who had missed that, I said we have two options to look out for here. The first one is let's wait out and see price will come back and do a retest of the 1,850. Then we could actually join the trend continuation upside. That is one scenario I stated. Then the second option was to look out for buy opportunity on the 50 time frame. So here we are on the 50 time frame. So I was able to identify a simple setup here at around the 1,858 and the trend line here. So we had a trend line here. We had the support level at the 1,858 where we have been witnessing buy pressure since the early hours of today. So I said a breakout retest of the structure, which appears to have happened at this point. You had already joined. Kudos to you for being on standby to join that move to the upside. So let's move to the upside with the stop loss sitting right below 1,858 points in time. So these are my views here on the XAUUSD. I hope I was able all the possible scenarios that is likely going to be happening on all of the talked about today. So my advice is that we remain patient and wait out for opportunities to evolve into a tradable structure or joining any potential move. So like I said, wait out whenever we have a breakout of structure like a signal. Let's wait out for confirmation, which is likely going to come in the form of a retest of structure on our lower time frame before we join that move to whatever direction it's going. So thank you very, very much for being here. I really appreciate every single one of you. And in fact, I look forward to seeing you same time tomorrow, 10 a.m. UTC, 11 a.m. West African time. Let's come here again, you all of this we have discussed so far for today, and let's get ourselves prepared for the New York session tomorrow as well. So I hope to see you here tomorrow on a profitable note as we um get for the new day. So do have a wonderful evening. I wish you best of luck. Bye bye.